What is up, guys? I'm just gonna go through something I learned pretty recently on how to check different things, more than one item at a time, in a more efficient way than copying the build over and over and over and over again, like most people do on YouTube when it comes to Simulationcraft. So instead of copying your whole build, uh, uh, like this and just copying this part, uh, like you just copy this and then you paste it over and over and over again to make different scans. That's a pretty inefficient way of actually doing it, and it's kind of convoluted because you have to go into the game and do all the things back and forth, back and forth. There was an easy way. My friend taught me this like yesterday or whatever. It's super efficient. You do it like this instead. You copy your build once, but instead of copying it over and over again, you just type copy and a title, and that's it. And then you add the item from your bag, which you can just copy paste. But every time you add copy, it copies from the build above. So if you do copy from this, copies everything, and then it replaces the trinket one, the shoulders, and the back. And if you copy from this, you copy this that copied from this. So you do that each time. So you just have to replace the item once. So when you do the scan, or when you simulate it, it will look something like this. I don't know how well this will go because I'm running on a high encoding. It should probably be fine. Yeah. And then we have some scans right here. And then we can see this one happened to be the highest rated one as of DPS, but it can't peak that high. So we have this peak, and then we have this peak, and then we have burst back with a pretty high peak, and then a crit back with a pretty low peak. So we can check the gear of this. Yeah, and then it's the eye level 420 agility or intellect as it is in this case. Because everything is kind of or everything is a little bit weird when it comes to Simulationcraft. Because as soon as you change one variable, it changes everything. So then we have done a couple of scans all at once, which is very nice. You can do more scans. This was like 1,300 or 13,000 iterations. It's a pretty good way and pretty efficient way of actually testing your gear and seeing what's best at the moment. So right now the verse without swapping trinket is probably the best for me right now. I could simulate it again, see if it has a different outcome, because sometimes it differentiates a little bit. But right now, it seems like versatility back, mastery versatility back is better than mastery crit back at the same item level for me. So we can see there, yeah. We can check the gear exactly. So it was I popped out the shoulders, which was 420, and have a pocket-sized computational device and highborn compendium of the storms with pretty good trinkets. And this was the verse and mastery back. So that was the only items I swapped. And that was because this just added this. So it's just a copy from the items from the bag I pasted from the add-on from SimC. And this is one thing I really like about this add-on. You can also use raidbots and gear compare and shit, but that is such a slow process. If you have a decent processor, you can do these scans fairly quick. If you have an i5 or something greater, or 26 or 24 threads on this shit, use that. And these are the presets I use. I use 0.05% target error, just because when you actually use scaling, if you want scaling of your stats, and you want to do one scan, it's gonna screw with you, man. But this efficient way of copying gear is a very nice way of checking. And you can also like because you get the full readouts of every piece of gear and their performance. So it's just like a regular scan, but you get the DPS counters in the top. So without the trinket, verse back is probably the best, because if you check the two last, this has a higher peak. It has a maximum of 26,944, and this had 26,415, but there's like a 1 DPS difference. So there's a margin of error in that. We can just simulate this again, and we're gonna get another outcome probably. We might be even luckier with a crit back. Who knows? Because versatility is like a stat you wait for the late game, when you have your stats, when you maxed out your gear. Yeah, look, it's weird. Now there's a different outcome, just because I didn't do jack. There's a different outcome. But crit is a greater stat than verse, if you think of it as a base stat. But haste is a great stat, because if we could check the scaling as well, because these are the stats we want for this character. You have to toggle and all of that shit. You could calculate for latency as well if you want, but I don't think that's necessary at all. It just seems like yeah, because it's gonna take a long time to calculate, because when we calculate scaling, it has to calculate it all over again for everything on all stats, and some stats have different attributes that makes it even longer, like versatility. It has a lot of effects on defense and offense, but it's a low damage scalar and a low defense scalar, but it does something. Definitely does. Especially if you check out the method gang and or the method people, that, you know, like Gingy, when he played a balanced druid in the race. Yeah, as you can see, verse is gonna take a while. Yeah, and there we go. And then we have the more yeah, we have the crit back as the top this time. further ahead than everything. It's 26,700 and this 26,500, and the regular one I have of the gear I had equipped. I have swapped gear since. This was this simulation paper was taken from yesterday. Yeah, so we get the pawn string and stuff, so we can see what's actually best right now, and we can see it here as well. You can see that haste and crit are a lot higher than verse on the quota, but haste is way above everything else. We haven't normalized these values, we haven't pushed them down, we haven't based them of int as 1.0, but because int is kind of irrelevant when you're in 120. It does do a lot. It increases your spell power increases your damage and all that. But it's not as important. You don't have to focus on it. If it's like a lot of item levels in the long run, of course. Oh shit. Yeah, here we go, the normalized values. And then we can see haste is very high, crit is pretty high, mastery is also pretty high, and verse. These three are basically about the same. And this is with the crit back on. So you can still see that it won't crit. But it's in a state that when I add more crit and remove verse will bump up. So if I remove more versatility and replace it with crit chance, it's gonna complain. So I'm not gonna touch those values. The only thing I'm gonna touch is haste, because this thing is one stat I need to bump up. Yeah, I guess I've been a bit on a tangent, because yeah, I just wanted to like show like the really neat way of doing these scans of gear, because it kind of blew my mind. I didn't know you could actually use Simulationcraft to do multiple scans in a nice and tidy way instead of copy pasting your whole character over and over and over again just to get multiple strings, because that's dumb, in my opinion. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you do that? Like, that's yeah, whatever. But hopefully you enjoyed like this type of video, ranty video. I'm not gonna cut it. I'm not gonna do anything with it in post processing or whatever. I'm not gonna put it into Sony Vegas and edit it to cut out these tangents. But hopefully you enjoyed it. I just woke up, so that's why my voice is kind of low. But this is Sipes signing out. Peace.